Good night, sisters and brothers.
Good night.
Here, here, there, and in the diaspora. I want to say a special shout out to Sister Sam and wish her a happy birthday. And happy birthday, Sister Sam. And I also want to give our condolences to Sister Cleon, Sister Dr. Cleon Athels. You know, she suffered a recent bereavement. I'm very pleased to be part of tonight's historic event. And I am so proud of the sisters and brothers of the Women's Forum for their enthusiasm and support for this rally. Good night, Akil. After tonight, I hope that more of you will join us and be part of the good work the forum is doing. I'm here to talk about an old problem, why it continues to plague us, and how we can get serious about combating it, if not solving it altogether. Folk wisdom says that everything in Antigua and Barbuda, no matter how bad, is just a 9 days wonder. Well, 9 days have passed, but I am still wondering what we as a society are going to do about the problem of domestic violence. Because we have talked about it quite a lot, but little has actually been done about it. Last month, a mellow Sunday evening was shattered by the news that a woman, another woman, had been killed by her partner. The story was even more horrific for us as females because we realized that this was the second attempt that we knew of on the woman's life, and that things had played out as many had feared but known they would. What are we going to do about it this time? What good can come out of this incident? And how will we use it to prevent another sister from losing her life? As girlfriends, wives, mothers, sisters, aunts, cousins, colleagues, friends, our existence is bound up with that of men, whether we have a man or not. So what affects one must affect all, because as the elders say, what had teeth? Her tongue. My tongue is hurting tonight, sisters and brothers, and so I must speak my hurt. I am hurt that the disregard and disrespect of women starts at the top in Antigua and Barbuda. I am hurt that the individuals and the institutions that ought to advocate, protect, and defend us are the very ones that make us so vulnerable to violence. I speak specifically of the Prime Minister, the female parliamentarians and their male colleagues, the police, and the church. And I intend to speak frankly. He did not start it, but the Prime Minister certainly perpetrated and perpetuated the violence against women when, early in his first term, he used the coarsest schoolboy language to advise Dr. Cleon Athel, an upright citizen, mother, teacher, counselor, and gender advocate, on social media no less, that she needed iron. It was replicated in his overtly sexual and degrading remarks about Dr. Jackie Quinn, again on social media. The apologists will say, oh, that was meant to be humorous. That's just words. And the cynical will say, play ball, take rubbers. I say, it is behavior unbecoming in any adult male. And gallingly so in one who sits in the Prime Minister's chair.
Put them in their place.
But the degradation did not stop there. Only 2-3 weeks ago, the nastiness dropped below floor level. I don't want to be crude, but I do want to be plain when I say that social media insults about whole and size of the ocean have no place in any interaction between a young woman and the Prime Minister of this country. And when another member of this first family threw rancid oil on the fire, I thought of the song that asks, how low can you go? And I answered, no lower than this, I hope. Another song says, if the top slack, the middle and bottom can't tight. And so we live that reality here, where not even the presence of 2 women in the cabinet seems a deterrent to the Prime Minister's common and callous behavior. But then again, why would he stop when neither of them has ever lifted a voice to chide him or to advocate for the women who need it most?
Shame.
Here they are, one an attorney and the other the director of a charity that is supposed to uplift women.
Shame.
And in the wake of Althea Henry's killing, what did we hear from them?
Nothing.
Nonsense, nonsense in one instance, and dead silence in the other. I say nonsense because MP Samantha Marshall knows better. She must know that charges against the alleged murderer ought never to have been dropped after the first assault, no matter who begged for leniency. One of the saddest instances of my entire life occurred one day when I encountered a man walking in my neighborhood. I saw a few cattle up ahead, and since the man was carrying a long stick, I stopped to ask if the animals were his. Quite sadly, he said no. Then he explained that he was looking for his daughter's body in the bush, and he was Vincia James's father.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
To this day, the recollection of it breaks my heart. And yet, Minister Marshall, attorney at law, even with no body to bear witness, the police charged Vincia's ex-partner with murder. Did they not?
Yes.
So why are you misleading vulnerable women and hurting families, making them believe that the hands of the police and the court are tied when the victim refuses to testify? My God, as a former Minister of Gender Affairs, you should know that the victims very often are not only beaten up, but beaten down, psychologically damaged. Somebody must be their voice when all the resistance has been choked out of them.
Have mercy.
And MP Maria Bird Brown. Well, maybe I shouldn't expect anything from you anyway. You're so poor that all you have is assets. But I did expect better of the Minister of Justice, Cutie Benjamin, who saw it fit to pardon and to release from prison a man who murdered his wife in cold blood, in broad daylight, in a place as public as the Epicurean supermarket parking lot. Cutie Benjamin took the prerogative of mercy from the Governor General and onto himself. Where was the mercy for the man's wife, Mr. A.G.? And I do expect plenty from the police, who are sworn to protect. Yet, in too many instances, officers of the law are the very ones to break the law as they break in girls and young women. The disgrace of it. And the court goes along with what amounts to further violence, allowing a child of 12, 13 years to discontinue a case of statutory rape against a police prosecutor of all people.
Outrageous absconder.
It is not in the court's place to bring about forgiveness. The business of the court must be justice. And why is it that the police can never find the runaway girls, but Mary John always can find them? Why is it that the adult men who pervert and prostitute these girls seem never to be prosecuted? What kind of message does it send when big hardstone men routinely get away with seducing and harboring children who cannot consent? But then again, the Minister of Gender Affairs, Dean Jonas, went on state TV to say the reason that children don't cry rape is because they've given consent.
Can you imagine?
If he can say that, well, where can we look for help but to the hills? It makes no sense for us to look to his colleague ministers either. One of them was unfazed when the girl pursuing him admitted to being just a year younger than his son. Listen, I know your boss once said, because he said it to Power, don't tell me nothing. Once they're 16, I'm not breaking any law. But the Bible says, while everything is lawful, not everything is expedient.
Yes.
Is it too much to ask that 16 or not, once they're still in school uniform, you allow them to complete their childhood? When it comes to the abuse of women, I know not to expect help from these ministers' satellites either, especially those better known for the laying on of hands than the laying of irrigation lines. Yes, comrade, you keep telling your lies about me on your new radio station. I'll be sure to keep telling the truth about you on my old radio station. So, where is the church in all this? Nowhere, it seems. With all the violence, in word, in deed, by commission, by omission, We have strained our ears to hear from the pulpit, "Thus saith the Lord." The Lord God could have called 10,000 angels to do his bidding here on earth, but he chose to bring salvation instead through a woman. I take that to mean that women are important to him.
Yes.
Why they're not important to the church? Preachers and priests, apostles and reverends, they're all on social media. They read the papers. The parishioners tell them what is going on in the society, with all forms of violence being unleashed against us, from cabinet to parliament to media. They know. So why is nothing said in defense of 90% of your congregations? The women who clean the church, who cut the flowers, who wash and iron the robes, who make up the choir and fry the fish and barbecue the chicken. It can't be that men and women who work for God are afraid of the displeasure of men and women who don't work for him, can it? Sisters and brothers, this redeemed team and this united progressive party, you have got to change the status quo. You've got to rip it down and burn it up. We, the conscious and the committed, have got so much work to do to protect the girls and women who are being subjected to physical and sexual violence, to psychological, emotional, and financial abuse in every stratum of this society across the length of this country. Not because they don't make the news, it's happening.
Yes.
We have to put in place the human and other resources to do better for the women and girls who need help. With billions collected in CIP money, even though now, it's not billions again. But there is absolutely no excuse for Antigua and Barbuda not to have a safe house where women and children can be sheltered, even on a temporary basis, away from their abuser. And if MP Marshall and MP Jonas and MP Bird Brown never thought of it, surely MP Malvin Joseph should have. After all, he is the Minister of not simply health, but of wellness. What are you doing, sir? What are you doing to keep the women of Antigua and Barbuda well? Surely, how a woman lives should be much more important to you than where her remains are buried. Team Redeem must also see to it that their new Attorney General closes any loopholes in the law that might allow the prosecutors any dereliction of duty or the perpetrators any escape on a technicality. We don't need any more cases being dismissed on the fiction that 13-year-old girls convinced an adult male that they were actually 18 so that they could spend the night on his premises. The new AG must do what is needed to shorten the time in which such awful crimes are investigated and prosecuted too. Justice delayed is more than justice denied in these instances. What has become of the young woman who was taken to Five Islands, reportedly by 2 police officers who had their way with her at gunpoint? Has that case file been lost? What of the young mother who reportedly hanged herself, albeit without rope, a few months ago? Nothing to report? The first form student who was being messaged by a senior police officer. Nothing there either? For too long, just too damn long, the society has been content to let things die down, sometimes literally, to look the other way and pretend that thing did not happen, either out of embarrassment or guilt. It's time enough we stop, people. It's time enough we have an administration where women's issues are recognized as human issues that affect men too. An administration where peace is not enough, but where justice precedes and even supersedes peace. And where every woman and girl, every single one, feels safe at home, safe in school, safe at work, and safe on social media. This Antigua Labour Party has failed to even try. Political leader Harold Lovell and Team Redeem, I have every confidence in you. Together, we can do better. Thank you.